Hello. I think I'm live in all places. Hello, Soul Aligned Self Care Community. I know I'm a little bit early. I said I was coming on at 11, but I figured I'd pop on a little bit early because I wanted to tell you about a few things before I get started. So as people start popping on, I'm just going to talk about a few things. First thing is be sure to sign up for my 2023 Soul Line Self Care Masterclass series. This is where all you have to do is sign up once, and throughout the year, I'll be releasing 5 masterclasses throughout the year. So, the first one is coming out, I believe, on Monday. And when I say I believe, it's because I'm finishing it up. I have to get it finished up. So Monday, and then April, then June. So February, April, June, September, and then December. And there'll be a total of 5 free masterclasses. Now they're going to be free for a limited time to you guys, and then they'll be available to purchase individually on my website, or you can make the choice to join my Aligned and Worthy Bootcamp, which is my Soul Aligned Self-Care Bootcamp. And if you join the bootcamp, you get access to all of that and all the material in the bootcamp. You'll get lifetime access to that. So there's 2 choices. But you will have free access to the master classes. I originally was going to do it for 48 hours, and then I realized, being a person that never attends a master class live myself, and this is why I'm pre-recording these and just sending them to your email. So the only way to get these master classes is to sign up and get an email from me. So if you have to opt in to my email. But anyway, I'm the type of person who always watches a replay, and I really do want to watch these master classes that I sign up for. But if they give me like a limited time, it almost irritates me a little bit. And so I do have to have a limited time because I am going to be selling that, and it is going to be a part of this program that I have, and I have to honor the people that are in this program that are paying for this program. And so I'm offering limited access, but it's going to be released on the 13th or 14th, and then it'll be good until like the 18th to 20th. I haven't decided on the date yet because I'm not exactly sure when it's going to be done, but you're going to get it next week. And this is really the start of my launch for my new signature program, Aligned and Worthy. Well, it's not a new program. I've launched it a couple of times. It's a really awesome program, and I'll tell you more about it at another time. But right now, I just really wanted to give you the option to sign up for these master classes. You don't have to purchase anything from me. You could just sign up and watch the master classes and get the benefits from these master classes for a few days. And it's a really great way for me to be able to offer things to people that don't know me very well, so that they can get to know me better and decide whether they want to work with me or not. So I think it's a nice way for you to see the type of work that I do without having to pay right ahead, right? So definitely make sure the link will be in my bio to sign up for this free masterclass series for all of 2023. So as I said earlier, you only have to sign up once, and you get access to the whole masterclass series throughout the year of 5 different free masterclasses. So be sure to do that. The first one is released on, as I said, Monday or Tuesday. Hi, nice to see you. All right, so today I'm talking about choosing yourself. I'm still in the Choosing You series. And we're talking about being authentically yourself. And that was Monday's self-care challenge. I talked very shortly about it. Really trying to become aware of the places where you don't feel completely comfortable being 100% authentically yourself, right? And pay attention to those. Awareness is the first step to anything, right? So when you become aware of these situations and you're like, oh, I'm just not really comfortable. And there's different reasons for this, and I'm going to go over that today. And really, this is just sharing with you one of the things that I went through that was really hard for me, and I was like this for a really long time, to make this switch over to being really comfortable with being myself around everybody. And it wasn't that I was trying to manipulate people. It wasn't that I was some kind of a liar or anything like that. It's because I didn't have that self-confidence when I was younger to really put my true authentic self out there. I was very concerned about people judging me. Also, I was in a relationship that was very, very mentally abusive. So it was more about keeping myself safe you know, and so like not setting off a temper or an argument or anything like that. So kind of like walking on eggshells. And these are different reasons why people are not completely authentic themselves. You know, a lot of times it's because they're trying to make somebody else comfortable, or they're trying to avoid some kind of discomfort themselves, or some kind of friction, or some kind of very uncomfortable situation with another person, right? And so it's not that a person that's not authentically themselves all the time is a bad person at all. It's just something that they have to work through. And in order to do that, that's something they can only do for themselves. And so I'm going to get started with this. I'm just going to come right out and get started. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to tell you guys. Oh, also, we just started the new book in the book club, the Soul Aligned Self-Care Book Club, which is on Patreon. It's a podcast style book club. It's lots of fun. And we do all self-development books. We started Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It by Kamal Ravikant. And it's a great book. It's going to be a short book. We're working on it for 3 weeks. So you could sign up now and join us and get all the recordings to all the past books too. So you have access to all. I think we've read 6 or 7 books, maybe even more already. So it's a really fun club. And you don't have to participate. You could just listen. You don't have to really do anything, or you could participate. So that link is also in the bio for the people on Instagram. If you're on Facebook right now, you guys, I always post these links for you guys, so I'll post more. I'm like cold today. It's not really cold here, but I just got a little bit of a chill. So the reason I didn't go live yesterday was because I had this very long, drawn out medical test that I had to do, and I thought I was going to come home and do my live and everything, but I was exhausted. And then when I came home, my water heater went, so I just came home to like a big puddle on the floor. It was a fantastic day. So anyway, I'm live today. I'm recovered a little bit. I still don't have hot water, but I'm sure it'll be coming soon. Okay, I'm going to get started. So, as I was sharing earlier about myself, I think this behavior for being a people pleaser started when I was really young, because I had a lot of tension in my household. And one of the things, and the tension was not caused by me, right? My parents were great, by the way. I won the lottery with my parents. I had wonderful parents. But what was going on was tension from another family member. And so I saw this as a child, and I tried to reduce the friction in my parents' life. So I was just trying to please them and do everything I possibly could to make everything easier for them, including like cleaning the house and stuff, like ridiculous stuff when I was a kid. Not that cleaning the house is bad for children, but like in not a healthy way, you know, the things that I was doing. But I thought I was doing really good things, and I thought this is the best thing I could do for my parents, to support them while they were going through something hard. And this is where the people pleasing started for me. And so what this created was the way I behaved in relationships was, I'm going to be whatever I think this person wants me to be in order to make them happy and comfortable, in order to make them like me, in order to reduce any friction in the relationship. And over time, when you do this for a long period of time, you start to lose that connection with yourself. So really showing up authentically as yourself is really one of the deepest levels of self-care, and that's why I'm talking about this today. It's about choosing yourself first. So being authentically yourself is really not for everybody else. It's really for yourself, because if you do that for a long time, what I was talking about, what I did, you don't know who you are anymore. You don't know what you like. You don't know. And you don't have any solid, authentic relationships, because what you're doing is you're not showing up as yourself in any of these relationships. And I realized this as I got older. You know, something would come up eventually within one of my relationships where I'd be like, how did I not know that about that person? How did I know that we did not share these same core values, you know? And I realized that this was my responsibility and my fault, right? So people can feel, like, when you're not showing up as yourself, people can feel this on an energetic level. They might not know where it's coming from, but what it does is they'll keep a protective distance from you when they can feel that you're not being completely authentic. And so the relationships that you have aren't going to be these deep, connected, loving, aligned relationships, really. They're going to be formed on basically lies. I wouldn't call them straight lies, but it's basically not authentic, right? So I learned over time that these relationships that I built were basically on lies, and that I use this to protect myself from outcomes that I was afraid that I would receive. And this had nothing to do with the people that I was in relationships. These weren't bad people. I just assumed that they were going to react a certain way. I did have some very bad relationships. I had a very bad long-term partner that was very abusive and very narcissistic, and narcissistic people tend to gravitate towards people pleasers, and so that's how that happened. Really bad. So anyway, but most people aren't really trying to force you to be something that you're not. It's usually the decision of the person to do this, right? So I learned that in order to have an honest, strong relationship with anyone, you have to have this with yourself first, and you have to show up as your true, authentic self. You have to have, whether you call it bravery or whatever you want to call it, you have to have that in order to be able to have these deep connected relationships with other people. So if you find yourself really longing to have these type of relationships and you don't have them in your life, try looking at yourself and seeing how you're showing up, because the way you show up is usually how other people are reflecting that back at you. So being authentically you is about honoring yourself and all the things that you love and sharing that with the people around you. So you basically are saying, this is me, this is exactly how I am, these are the things I love, and I'm going to share this with you. And if you don't like it, okay, well then later. And if you do like it, then great, we're totally aligned and we're meant to be friends, right? So I do realize this can sound like, so when you are authentically yourself, what happens is you're showing up completely as you, and all the people that gravitate towards you are really meant to be aligned and in your life. And the people that aren't meant to be in your life kind of fall away. And I know this can sound really scary when I say this to some people, because even though these people might not be a good relationship, it's comfortable and it's something that they know and it's familiar and they feel safe in it, right? So, but it's not some big dramatic thing that happens. What really happens is the more authentic you are, showing up authentic as yourself, the more that this happens, the more that all these wonderful people will gravitate, people, circumstances, opportunities will gravitate towards you, right? And as that's happening, you're enjoying this, and these other people that were energy suckers or that weren't meant to be in your life because you weren't at that time being yourself when you met them, those people will fall away, and it's going to be a mutual thing. Because you're bringing all this good stuff into your life, you're not going to miss losing something that wasn't really meant for you in the first place, if that makes sense. So it's not like this big dramatic thing where you're going to get all these new friends and then all these old friends are going to disappear. That's not true. Because a lot of times when you start showing up authentically as yourself, the people that are in your life that don't really know this side of you are going to really welcome it. And believe it or not, you might have more in common with these people than you even realize, but you were both not showing up authentically, right? And so by you taking the first step, it allows this other person to step into it also. And you can have this really powerful up level in this relationship, if that makes sense, okay? So, some of the things that you can expect when you start showing up for yourself are, all right, I'm reading my notes now, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing, because I'm super sleepy and tired from yesterday, my traumatic day. Maybe at some point I'll talk more about my traumatic day. Okay, so the things that you can expect when you start showing up for yourself is less stress and anxiety, right? So like the more that you act like yourself, the more, and I shouldn't say act, the more that you become aligned with your true authentic self, it's less work. It's less work. Think about it. If you're trying to be something different for every person in your life, think about how much work that is, right? So less stress, less anxiety, deeper relationships, as I talked about, more honesty in your life, right? You don't have to, nothing is a farce anymore. Like everything is completely aligned. It's just so much more relaxed and flowy. You also get to set a great example for others to follow. Like I said, sometimes you'll be surprised. You might have this friendship and you might realize, I'm not showing up. And then you decide to show up, and then this other person steps forward and you're like, holy shit, this really worked out for me, right? So you're setting a great example. You're also setting a great example if you have children, right? You're happier. You're a lot happier. And you experience more flow and ease in your life and less friction, right? So all these things that I just mentioned all relate to each other, right? One way to recognize when you're not being yourself, when you start to I'm trying to think of the right word. Sorry, I just went blank for a minute there. So one way to recognize when you're not being yourself, when you're trying to make somebody else comfortable, you're like going out of your way to make someone else comfortable, and in turn this makes you uncomfortable. So you're sacrificing your own comfort to make that other person comfortable. I think Delia, I'm not sure if I'm saying her name correctly. She wrote Vibrate Higher Daily. She wrote that book. Anyway, I think she quoted this where she says, you don't have to light yourself on fire in order to keep somebody else warm, right? So that's basically, I love that quote because it really says it all. And so if you find yourself doing this a lot, then you're not being truly authentic. And that there's a need for you to set some boundaries here, right? To avoid conflict with another person or even violence. So like if you find yourself acting a certain way in order to avoid conflict with another person or to evade some kind of violent behavior, and I'll talk more about that because that's very serious. I've been in that situation myself, and so this is a very tricky situation to get out of, so I don't just want you to like jump out of that, and there's ways to get out of that situation. You might be afraid someone might not agree with you or like you. Maybe you're trying to you just want to be, it's a human nature to want to be a part of a community, right? And to be accepted into the community. It's a basic human need, as a matter of fact, right? So that might be a reason why you're not showing authentically up as yourself. So if you find yourself acting a certain way in order to be accepted, then that's another sign, right? You might just want to be included in a different social circle, which is kind of the same thing that you're not associated with. And so you're anxious at first, or you're nervous. And so you find yourself doing things that you wouldn't normally do as yourself, right? So if you find yourself doing these things, these are sure signs that you're not showing up authentically as yourself and that you need to make some changes. Some of the ways that you could start to shift to be more authentic. So bring awareness to the situations where you feel like you're acting this way. So as I said at the beginning, become aware of your situation. Becoming aware is the first step to making any changes in your life. Start making small shifts to being your true self. So if just like making this big abrupt shift and just being like, hey, I know I never told you this before, but I'm super woo-woo and super spiritual and I believe in past lives and all this other stuff. Maybe that's too heavy to like spring on somebody in your life all at once and you want to take small little shifts, or maybe you're just like want to rip the band-aid off and just be like, hey, this is me. Deal with it, right? Or you could just start making small shifts to being your true selves. They're less scary and it's easier to make changes this way. So if this is something that sounds so scary to you and maybe you're so afraid of losing people in your life, make small shifts. And then when you have small successes from these small shifts, that's like a tongue twister, then you'll gain confidence to be more and more authentic, if that makes sense. I hope it does. So if there is a good friend, like I was talking about earlier, say you have a really good friend and you're pretty authentic with her, right? She knows you pretty well, but there's like this one small thing. Let's go back to like the spiritual, like the woo-woo stuff. Like maybe you're really completely authentic with this other person, but you don't share this spiritual side. And I find that this comes up a lot in my life. That's why I'm using it as an example. So like a lot of people are afraid to expose that they're like super spiritual and super woo-woo with their friends. And meanwhile, we're like, so many of us are like this, right? So maybe just this person that you're very close with, you trust, and you feel like very comfortable maybe just saying to them, listen, I've been like keeping this to myself and this is something I really want to share with you because I really value our relationship and I think that we could have fun talking about this or whatever. Like, so just really come right out and just say it to the person. And I think most of the time you'll be pleasantly surprised. And then going back to the last thing, like if you're in a threatening situation, remove yourself if possible. But I know how hard this is because I've been in pretty tricky situations myself. But avoiding having further contact is like the best thing you can do for yourself. I realize that being able to do that is such a small percentage of you that are in this situation can do that. And I do want to share with you like the hotline for domestic violence. And so I'll put that in the comments. And I'll also put it in this post so that you have that just in case you need some help with that. So that could be a situation where you might need some counseling through or some support through. So I would advise you to either ask the help of a friend or call the number to get help if you're in a serious situation. But this is something that everybody knows deep down in their soul that they need to change, right? They need to get out of that situation. And I've been there, believe me. So as I said, the first step is awareness. It's like usually a lot of times if you start just paying attention, because a lot of us really aren't paying attention to, like I was not doing this intentionally when I was younger. When I started doing this in my relationships, I just did it from a very young age and it was just natural to me and I thought it was normal, and I didn't realize that it wasn't normal until I was a little bit older. And so when you bring awareness to that situation, sometimes that's all you need to make the change, to make that shift to being authentically you. Because you're like, if you're like me, you're probably like, well, fuck that. I'm not going to not be myself. What am I doing? Like, this is ridiculous. I have no time for this. I don't have the energy for this. I don't have any of that, right? Especially nowadays, none of us have the energy to not be ourselves, right? So a lot of times just bringing awareness to it is enough to make the shift. So look at the different relationships in your life and ask yourself, are you in alignment with yourself when you're with this person? And if not, how can you start to be? It's really that simple. Just like take the time today to just think about all the most important relationships in your life and ask yourself this question, and then just start shifting into that person. This is, like I said, one of the deepest levels of self-care that you can do for yourself is showing up for yourself, loving yourself, being your own best friend first. Because if you can't have this kind of comfort in your own skin, you cannot create a strong connection, honest relationship with another person, right? You really have to have this for yourself first. And I'm not saying you can't have friendships, you can't have relationships, but if you really want them to be authentic and honest and strong, then you need to do this for yourself first. So I'm going to be creating journal prompts that'll be available when I release the podcast on Friday. And if you need a link to the journal prompts, I can't remember if I put the link in the bio, but you know what? I'm going to put the link in the bio for the journal prompts if it's not there already, so you guys can grab them. So every week I do a live like this. I do the podcast on the same topic, and then you can go to the podcast page and grab the freebie, which is basically, if you go to this page, you could basically grab all the downloads from all the past podcasts and use them independently. You know, you could listen to the podcast too, but you don't have to. You could just grab the journal prompts for you. So I do this for you every week. So I'll be creating journal prompts for the podcast, and they'll be released tomorrow. Okay, I think that's all that I wanted to talk with you about today. I hope that you enjoyed it. Be sure to sign up for the 2023 free Masterclass series. It's going to be really good. I am working so hard on making these Masterclasses as epic and powerful and transformational as possible, because these are going into my signature course, which is my baby. I love my signature course. And so I want these to be as powerful as possible, and I want to share them with my community, my Soul Aligned Self-Care community, so that you know what it would be like to work with me. So I want to make that available to everybody. As I said, you only have access to them for a few days. I think it's going to be like 4 days, okay? Which is enough time, I think. Being the type of person that always watch replays when I sign up for masterclasses, I think 4 days is really enough if you're really inspired to take part. Okay. And as always, remember to add deep level self-care into your life daily. So today you're going to ask yourself those questions about your relationships and start showing up as your authentic self, because doing this for yourself is the deepest level of self-care and self-love. Okay. Love you. See you next week.